In the 1930s, the government of America put a prohibition on alcohol. They completely banned the drinking of alcohol, and guess what the result was? Chaos. A black market ensued, ran by gangsters, mobsters, and it gave them even more things to do, to run a system so dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, that America made it so people could drink alcohol again, ladies and gentlemen. We believe on side negative thoroughly that this will happen, but in the same image as smoking, ladies and gentlemen. And we believe we do not want that result to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Now, essentially, what is my theme and contention within my speech today? I'm really going to be illustrating to you how the black market is going to sprout up and how that's not going to be so great for the countries across the world, ladies and gentlemen. But before I do that, let's essentially look at what side proposition has told us so far within this debate. Firstly, this idea about how the system will sabotage itself. Secondly, about how it brings forth the wrong message. And thirdly, about how the state and the nation has a responsibility to protect its citizens. Now let's go on to this first idea, about how the system sabotages itself. Now we would see this completely irrelevant. And mind you, they never prove how the link between keeping smoking and somehow the state turning on itself, ladies and gentlemen. They never prove that to us, ladies and gentlemen. So we believe that this point just logically doesn't make sense, it's irrelevant, and that's why we believe this point completely false. Now let's go on to the second idea, about how it brings forth the wrong message. Now we believe the logic is flawed within this point, because, like, just an example, if your father bans you from eating fast food, do you look up to him and say, "Oh, thank you so much for banning me the thing I love eating the most"? No, kids don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. And our people in our nation are just like kids in this situation. We whine, we go against, we go tough. We don't appreciate what the government does, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why black markets start sprouting up. Not because we appreciate what the government has done, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go to this third idea, because we believe that we are thoroughly debunked this entire point, which is this idea about how a state has an obligation to protect its citizens, ladies and gentlemen. And under this, they really talk about self-harm. But what we would say to that, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you think that you would benefit if you actually started smoking, ladies and gentlemen, then why not allow people to? Because people, in the end, are self-interested. And that self-interest makes it so that they make the decision that they think would help them the most. And if, in this case, they think smoking helps them the most, then why not, ladies and gentlemen? We live in a society where we try to maximize choice, not minimize, ladies and gentlemen. And that's essentially why we believe their entire case falls, and along with it, their POI. Now let's go on to this second idea of rebuttal, which is reconstruction. So essentially we had, 3 points, 2 points so far, which is firstly about impracticality and freedom of choice. They did not rebut the idea about impracticality at all. And to freedom of choice, what they essentially said is that the state should make choices, because the people can't make them well enough, ladies and gentlemen. But what we would say to this is, again, the consensual idea, and also, again, about how people are self-interested, ladies and gentlemen. They make choices to benefit themselves, as Thomas Hobbes' theory of self-interest goes. And let's go to this third thing, and fourth, which they kind of brought up along with it, is the alternative and the contradiction. Now, in the alternative, all they said is that it's not going to affect anything, and educating the people somehow won't make them deter, and they never proved this, they never justified this, they never brought forth a warrant, so we believe that this point is completely false. And now the fourth thing, which is about our contradiction, apparently. And they talked about, under this, about how we said that smoking is unhealthy, and we are also saying that we should keep smoking. But ladies and gentlemen, what we do realize is that, sure, smoking is unhealthy, but what we do say is that people have the choice to. So in itself, it's actually not really a contradiction. So we have really rebutted everything that side proposition has told us so far. So now let's go on to this idea about the black market. Yeah.
Let's think about school. It's mandatory. At the beginning, you don't like it, but after that, on a long term, you realize that it was a benefit for you. Why don't you think that by declaring illegal, it would be a benefit on long term?
So what we would say to that is two things. Firstly, people don't drop out of school because they think that school benefits them, ladies and gentlemen. People drop out of school because they don't want it. They don't appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. And also, secondly, what we would say is that even like in the regular, people don't appreciate school. And in that POI, they never correlated why appreciation of school somehow means that we should somehow get rid of smoking. But let's go on to this idea of the black market, which is a really big subject. Now, before we go into my point, let's just look at some things that we have banned. Now, drugs, sometimes alcohol, lots of things. The list goes on. And what is the result? Failure. People not liking the government's decision. And most of all, cartels and black markets popping up. But why did this occur, ladies and gentlemen? Because of simple supply and demand, ladies and gentlemen. There was a demand for, in the prohibition case, alcohol, and in this case, cigarettes, and people are easily addicted to it. And as my partner has told you, 90% of people smoke in Spain and 88% smoke in France. Ladies and gentlemen, what we believe is that the demand is huge. And if the supply is gone, people will find a way to supply it. And because they'll earn a lot of profit, suddenly black markets will start sprouting up. Cartels will start sprouting up. Now let's look at the harms of both of these. Now cartels. Drug cartels are a prime example, ladies and gentlemen. There's violence, you intimidate your foes, and a prime example is Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. But before I do that, let's just look at cartels for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Because the problem within itself is that chaos ensues, ladies and gentlemen. Is that now you have two states within a state. The non-legal state and, the legal state and the illegal state, ladies and gentlemen. So the problem just self-perpetuates itself, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the drug wars in Mexico. The government doesn't have much control of Mexico. Now that drug cartels have mostly seized control of Mexico. 10,000 people have been killed since 2006. 51 people have been left headless beside the streets just a couple of weeks ago, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something we want. And we believe there will be a cigarette cartel because the demand is even higher, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go to the second harm, which is black markets. Now, the thing is, the black market is so dangerous because it's out of the government's hand. We can't regulate the black market simply because it's out of the government's hands. Just like you can't save someone if they're just upon your reach, ladies and gentlemen. So, because you can't regulate or control the ingredients they put into cigarettes and or the distribution, what you get is they want a lot of profit and there's no regulations. Add that together, you get a really ugly result. You get people start getting killed, you get these cigarettes starting to get more addictive, ladies and gentlemen. They just slap anything together, ladies and gentlemen. These results just keep on getting worse and worse, ladies and gentlemen. And just like the probation instance in 1930s, when America banned alcohol, we believe, ladies and gentlemen, that the same instance will happen. That gangsters and mobsters will start appearing, ladies and gentlemen. And we believe that we have a moral obligation to get rid of these harms. To make it so that cartels don't start popping up. To make it so that the black market doesn't come. To make it so that people are safe. The words of side proposition, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want those words, and if you want Sinaitic's words to be correct, and if you want, ladies and gentlemen, people to be more successful, in the future, your country to be more successful, the world to be better, safer,